episode 113 of the Nerds at Large Gaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Darby Hallman.
I'm Jeff Mayo.
Jeff Mayo, and we're here to talk about video games with our mouth flaps into your ears. Jesus. We got a lot of cool things to talk about. I'm good.
Great start.
Yeah, great start. There's a lot of big things happening. Shawn Layden's gone. He's dead. He got dusted. It's sad.
Along with Reggie.
And then Shawn and
Thanks,
Reggie are
Phil.
now in video game heaven together. And a bunch of other stuff. PlayStation Now is a lot better now. And Last of Us Part 2 looks like a good game. Just a little preview. But Jeff, before we get into news, number one, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Darby. Doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I am tired and a little loopy, as you can clearly tell.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm doing pretty good. The Overwatch League is over, and it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the actual grand finals was kind of boring. It was a complete just like curb stomp by San Francisco Shock, but it was still a lot of fun. And I'm definitely looking forward to that in the future. Other than that, me and you played Final Fantasy 14. Don't think we've played enough to really talk about it. But just FYI, in the future, we actually did take that plunge. We've been talking about it. So, Dar, how long until we
stream it?
Probably not too long. Yeah, I was already thinking about that because also we talked about it in the previous podcast. But we are still playing. We're moving into a house in a few weeks. So yeah. So our streaming schedule is probably about to get a lot more, robust. So yeah, definitely Final Fantasy 14. I also think I might, for like breaking in our streaming schedule in the new house, I might do a full playthrough of The Last of Us, leading up to The Last of Us Part 2. So that's just a taste, and I can promise you Untitled Goose Game.
Full playthrough,
that
baby.
That is a promise. Yeah, so we don't really have a whole lot to say about Final Fantasy 14 right now because we just started playing it, but we will talk about that in the future because that's probably going to be a big time sink that we're spending with our friends. So if you've been on the border of doing it, maybe you can play with us or you can hear our thoughts.
I gotta get ready for that Nier Automata raid.
Yeah,
that we'll do in 4 years.
And Rathlow's still doing it, and we have to go to the Golden Saucer in 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, do you have any other Vigimo games to talk about before we get into news?
I did finish a game, Darby. Ooh. I finished Link's Awakening.
You did it, Jeff. You got the big egg, and now you're the big egg. You get to play as the big egg when you finish the game, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure. I mean, I assumed.
Yeah. Spoiler, Darby, but you know what comes out of the egg?
I actually don't. So don't maybe.
Big Yoshi.
Big Yoshi? Is that where Big Yoshi comes from?
Yeah.
Big Yoshi, you guys. I always wondered where Big Yoshi came from.
But yeah, I finished Link's Awakening. As I said last week when I talked about it, this was my first time playing any version of this game. So yeah, it was a fresh new experience for me.
Yeah, well, how was the whole thing? How is it as a whole? I forgot how far you were from the end.
I'm about halfway done last time, but I finished it. I loved it. There are definitely some times where it's like, yep, old game is old. With some kind of maybe obtuse dungeon design things. There was one time where I accidentally did something in a dungeon, so I had to go through it pretty much all through again. Just because I forgot to do one certain thing, and it was kind of annoying, but it wasn't the biggest deal. Overall, yeah, a lot of fun.
Make sure you're talking to that mic, please. Not right up against it, though, please.
Just make up your mind.
The audio has to be better, Jeff. Right.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think I don't know, a lot of the, because this is just a direct remake of the old game. I mean, the
reason I'm all talking about it is because you haven't played it and you don't know much either, so I don't want to spoil anything. And because it's an old game, it is part of a long running series with the 2D Zeldas. The gameplay stuff is there's nothing like really surprising about it. Unfortunately, I can't compare it to the old one as far as
Right.
the little things they did change.
Did you have much of that like old 2D Zelda and Metroid and just all those games? Like, at least my experience when I go back and play those, there's a lot of times where you're just lost and don't know what to do, and you kind of like
Not really.
the game doesn't tell you where to go.
No, actually, I don't know if this was something they may streamline more in this, but it is very easy to tell where you're going, because after you get done with something, either you just hear a voice telling you where to go, or the little owl friend you meet close to the beginning of the game. I mean, it becomes pretty clear he's going to be popping up a lot. It tells you where to go. Or there is an old man who is very shy, and he can't talk to people face to face, but he has no problem talking to people over the telephone. So
I can relate.
Yeah, so there are little houses or little hut things throughout the world that you go in. The man on the telephone will tell you where to pretty much tell you what to do.
Okay.
Or more of a hint, so you're not completely lost.
Yeah.
It's pretty honestly, it's pretty straightforward for where you have to go, and and the map is not very confusing. It's pretty it's sectored all pretty well to where things don't look the same. Where you're going when you're going to a new place, it looks different. Different stuff's going on. It's not like it's the biggest map ever.
Isn't it decently linear for the most part?
Oh yeah, there are Yeah, it's pretty much all linear. There are a couple, I guess, side things you can do, but even some of the side things, it kind of turns out that you have to end up doing what I thought was side things in the beginning. You kind of have to do to progress in the game at some point, and you just kind of get either work on it as you go, or you have to go and do it all at once.
Okay,
which can take longer and potentially get annoying.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and there are some Metroidvania type things where, hey, surprise, surprise, when you're in dungeons at a Zelda dungeon, you get a new item to complete that dungeon. And surprise, surprise, that item lets you do things you couldn't do before in the overworld.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff going on.
Basic stuff, but also, I mean, just looking at it, just being that art style is just so good to me, and like, it
is very pleasing on the eyes.
As long as I know, and I know people say that the dungeon just kind of philosophy of this game is a little different than like the other Zelda games that have been before it, like the original ones. So it's definitely a game I am definitely planning on playing your copy when it comes to November. Because I mean, everyone universally seems to like this game. There's like some discussions over the price, whether it's worth the price, which we talked about a little bit last week, and just there's some people who already played the original game that were like kind of hoping it was a little bit more added to it. And I think those are valid things.
Yeah. I think it was Michael Huber on their latest Easy Allies franchise thing kind of said this seems to be more a game for new people and not necessarily for people who play before. And I can kind of see that, especially with this philosophy. Or it was
which is weird. It's not really
one-to-one.
Well, it's not really what I expected when they came out and it was like Link's Awakening remake. It felt like, okay, this is for like the Link's Awakening fans, which it kind of is, but it also almost seems like even inadvertently it's almost better for new people.
I think in a way it's Link's Awakening is a fan favorite. It's on the Game Boy. It had the DX version and stuff to where they upgraded it some, but hasn't been quote unquote upgraded in a while. So do that. That might be enough to get some Link's Awakening fans in, because the hardcore Zelda fans are the hardcore Zelda fans who will play this no matter what.
Right.
And then with the art style and everything, and with the popularity that Zelda's probably the biggest it's been, off the back of Breath of the Wild. So
it at least feels like it.
Yeah. So having what people hear is a fan favorite 2D Zelda and this cute, quaint art style, it's a different thing, different type of game. We got a Breath of the Wild coming. I think that was smart to also get that out of the way, so people might be more open to it. I know they announced Link's Awakening first, but.
Yeah, I guess this is one thing, since we did talk about a lot of this stuff last week. This is kind of something we didn't talk about. Do you see this going in a way, like almost like with Resident Evil, I think we all expect there to be like RE8 is going to be like RE7, and that's going to be like the new Resident Evil. But then we all pretty much assume that RE3 is going to be remade in a similar way to RE2. Do you think they'll do a similar thing with Zelda, where they have Breath of the Wild, the new Zeldas that are kind of pushing the Zelda formula in new ways, but then simultaneously have either remakes or new 2D Zelda games that are a little more traditional?
That's pretty much what they've been doing for a while, because A Link Between Worlds was 2013, I think, something like that.
There you go.
2012, 2013, somewhere around there. Grezzo, the studio who made Link's Awakening, also did the remaster things for the 3DS for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. They're one of those studios that not owned by Nintendo, but pretty much exclusively make things for Nintendo, and their niche seemed to be with these older Zelda games, either remastering them and updating them some ways. They did a lot more, I think, with Majora's Mask as far as that stuff goes. And
I heard people say that that's like the definitive way to play those games.
Yeah,
the port's really good.
And obviously remaking this, so yeah, I think they're going to continue. Whether the next 2D Zelda game is another remake or something, I'm not sure which one they remake necessarily, or a new 2D Zelda, who knows? But
would you have a preference between another remake or just a brand new 2D?
I'm not sure what they would remake as far as.
I feel like you would almost have to go back to like Zelda 2 or something.
I have seen people say Zelda 2 because it's the weirdest game in the series in a way.
Yeah.
So seeing Nintendo remake that or reimagine it, whether it be in art style wise or play style wise, would be interesting. That one you might have to. I don't know if it could be a straight up remake like Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
I think Link's Awakening was a good one. Was one that's like, okay, this makes sense. There might be some people who are like, yeah, old game, old, whatever. But I think it's still the way it plays is still appealing to people who haven't played the original. Where I think Zelda 2 is a lot more of. You're probably not going to get people who haven't played Zelda 2 excited for this.
Well, if you want it to be as big as Link's Awakening kind of is right now, it's going to need to be more of a change.
Yeah. I
mean, it's kind of just we're seeing it a lot nowadays, the different philosophies that people make and take in remaking games. Like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy pretty much tried to keep it like very true, and Link's Awakening tried to keep it very true.
The Crash ones and Spy ones, they call remasters.
So, yeah, even though they look like, but it's a different style thing. But then you have obviously RE2 and then Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah,
there's like two different levels of RE2. Like changes a lot. Final Fantasy 7 changes like and
so Nintendo,
much.
I guess has been a little bit. Unless I'm forgetting something, it hasn't done like the RE2.
I mean, Metroid Samus Returns was like a completely different game. That was technically a remake of Super Metroid 2 or whatever, but that was completely different. And that's what people point to as kind of like Nintendo has taken both routes with these two different games.
Yeah, and even in some or Pokemon Let's Go is for better or worse.
I think it varies by game, like what is necessary.
Xenoblade Chronicles, the one that's coming out next year, the definitive edition, is pretty much like a Crash style remake.
Right.
It's just not as big. It's just not obviously not a big of a jump, but it makes the game look so much better.
Yeah, and that's one of those.
And adding the cut content. Yes. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that game. Of course, 2020, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hope if they do this, they'll take it game by game, because I don't think every one of these games should just be straight ported like this. But it's also, I mean, part of this Link's Awakening, there's also a way to look at it as like it's almost like video game preservation. This is like you can experience Link's Awakening in almost the exact way it was meant to be played, just with awesome modern new graphics in this. But it also seems like it is Link's Awakening warts and all, Not that it's like bad warts
and
whatever, but
wart is in this game.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It is. I've loved hearing people talk about Link's Awakening because it again, just the way that like remakes are so common nowadays, that is a question, about like what's the best way to do it, what's the best way
I still love the kind of when they start a trailer when revealing the anime art style that is the opening to the game as well, obviously. and then they go to the art style and just you kind of get whiplash like,
Yeah, it's debate. Wait, what?
And then you think, this is weird, and then you get some people continue thinking it's weird and potentially hating, and then it's us think this is weird, and then we're like, but this looks nice.
But it's good. Yeah, it seems like it is decently polarizing. I mean, I think more people like it than not, but there are a lot of people that just don't like it, which fair enough. All right, Jeff, is that all you got? Because
I believe so.
I don't really have anything. I think we can just scoot right on over into the news, but I think we're going to need a news jingle in order to do it. I think we're trapped here until you give us a news jingle. I think that's how it works. So I think the cards are in your hands, Jeff.
Forgot my news bell.
All right, well, podcast is over, you guys.
Bye. Jingle, jingle, jingle.
Oh, shit. That? He found. Oh, is it the news guy?
Okay, Darby. Darby, we're pretty much going to be a PlayStation podcast for the next little bit.
Okay, we're Sony Ponies. Welcome to the Sony Pony Podcast, episode 1.
Yep. And then we'll make Phil Spencer proud.
I'm sure the Sony Pony has been the name of the podcast out there already. I'm sure that's already taken.
This is P.S. I Love You XOXO.
2, the sequel.
Yeah. The sequeling.
P.S. I Love You XOXOXOXOXO.
Yeah, okay. This comes from Matt Camp from IGN. The official PlayStation Twitter account has just announced that Worldwide Studios chairman Shawn Layden will be leaving Sony Interactive Entertainment. Layden has been with Sony since 1987. PlayStation announced Layden's departure via a tweet. Quote, "It is with great emotion that we announce that Worldwide Studios chairman Shawn Layden will be departing SIE. His visionary leadership will be greatly missed. We wish him success in future endeavors and are deeply grateful for his years of service. Thanks for everything, Shawn." End quote. Layden joined Sony as part of its corporate communications department in 1987. Layden later became president of the Sony Computer Entertainment Japan in October 2007 before becoming a founding member and vice president of Sony Network Entertainment International in 2010. In 2014, Layden succeeded Jack Tretton as president and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment America. 2018, Layden was made the chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. Under Layden's tenure as chairman, the PlayStation released several critically acclaimed games for its first-party worldwide studios, including God of War, Spider-Man, and Horizon Zero Dawn.
So this is big news, Jeff. Big Yoshi. Big Yoshi. I mean, but for real, this is very, very big. And I think it's kind of hard to talk about this without talking about kind of how weird this feels, how weird this was handled.
Yeah, this tweet, I read it, but normally with this kind of stuff, you tag the person, which he has a Twitter account that apparently he uses somewhat often.
Oh, and he is still active now. He's like liking people's tweets, talking about this and everything, but he still has not made any like actual official thing. And kind of like Greg Miller pointed out, like Sony sends out press releases for literally everything, and it's kind of weird that this was not. There's no press release about this, and even Imran Khan, also kind of funny, talked about how like normally when this type of stuff, if this was like a planned thing that they knew was coming and there was like ahead of time, they would have told like all the different press outlets and under embargo and said like this is at this time we're going to announce that Shawn Layden is going or whatever. None of that happened. This seemed like it was a very sudden thing at a weird, like it feels like it was a very sudden thing at a weird time. So like, and like all those things like together, just kind of the lackluster nature of it, considering this is the president, this is a high up guy who's been there for 30 plus years. And just like, I know he's not quite as big as Reggie, but he's close. And when you compare it to Reggie,
if only he was more memeable. There's
a big difference. So, I mean, like, I hate to be like conspiracy theorist, but like, I think we kind of have to talk about this.
Yeah.
There's definitely, it feels like something is up. Like, I don't know if he got a job at like a competitor or something, and that's why this was so sudden, or there was just a disagreement and he quit. But something about this felt sudden, and that tweet almost feels like, okay, well, he's gone, so he's free to say whatever we want. We better get ahead. And put this statement out. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's some weirdness. Actually, give me a second. I'm gonna pull up something because I think I saw a thread on Resetter that sounded like there might have been more information.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this is 2 days old, or
this happened last night.
It was last night, yeah. But I didn't see anything today. But
let's see.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. It's I mean, like I said, it's one of those things that it just seems like if this was like Reggie, in Reggie's situation, it was like, I want to spend more time with my kids. And I want, like that. I feel like if it was that kind of announcement, then I feel like this would be different. Like this was not handled. But also, I think it's also important. Greg and Imran also talked about. I kind of get the feeling that I don't think this is some really shitty, like, Me Too thing.
Yeah.
Because their wording is still very positive, and like, I think if it was something really, really bad on Shawn Layden's part,
nothing like that even crossed my mind.
No, I'm just saying.
But okay, so what I'm gonna read are quotes from Johnny Cullen from GameDaily.biz, and I'm just gonna read quotes kind of selected what I assume are important from Maple90 from Rosetta on FRAD. This announcement provided little fanfare on the announcement, especially for someone who has had a long and distinguished career at PlayStation and Sony. Layden himself hasn't tweeted anything on his personal Twitter account as a publication. Game Daily reached out to Sony for comment, but didn't receive a response for a publication. In a follow-up Polygon, Sony said there was no other information at this moment. Again, these are quotes I'm going to be skipping around, so this probably won't transition that well. So just bear with me. Layden's exit comes at a time of transitional upheaval, and not just with the next-gen PlayStation 5 looming. There's also the possibility of an internal power struggle, which appears to stem from a corporate restructure back in April 2018, which is when Sony Interactive Entertainment truly went global. The biggest issue is merging all the Sony Interactive Entertainments, America, Europe, and Japan. It's a carnivorous difference in product marketplaces. Marketing a product in the North-South American markets is vastly different than doing so in Europe, and neither aligns with how sales work in Japan and Asia. Suddenly, three teams were working on the same thing without much clarity and reporting structure. This has created chaos as Sony Interactive Entertainment adjusted a global mindset. Additionally, Sony reorganization typically impacts senior vice presidents level and higher, with lower level employees facing a rolling restructure. Higher ups figure things out how to manage shifting teams on the fly. That's one thing. There's another thing. You react to that while I read to see if this is worth reading.
Okay, yeah. Stuff like this, it kind of makes sense because it's also suspicious timing with the console is about to come out.
Well, and the fact that he just got in his position last year.
Yeah, he hasn't actually been in this position for very long, but also I think it's undeniable that PlayStation has been changing the last few years. Like, when you think about PlayStation at the beginning of the PS4 life cycle, when it was... it was Shueisha Yoshida out there, Gio Corsi, Shawn Layden. There was a bunch of faces. There was like a big like presence at E3 obviously and everything else. There was like kind of a face to the name, and I really do feel like as it's gone on, that's kind of faded away, and obviously the focus has gone away from like indies and smaller games they're showing and more towards their own first party like God of War and Spider-Man, like the big AAA things. And when you compare like Sony to like when you think of Nintendo, you had Reggie and you had like these faces that you and
got Koizumi.
Obviously Phil Spencer with Xbox and everything. Sony is the one where that didn't really feel like that was the case. And I'm not saying this is a good or bad thing. I'm just saying it seems like philosophy is changing, and E3 pulling out of there, and Shawn Layden being very open about like not wanting to be at E3 and not liking to spin this.
I mean, just kind of real talk. I know this is kind of a like. I wonder if this does increase the chance of them going to E3.
It might. I mean, we might start seeing. I mean, because there was also people talked about like apparently Jim Ryan and Shawn Layden didn't agree on a lot that.
I kind of was saying that here.
Yeah.
Just go ahead. I could bring this up at some other point.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes me think like crossplay was one of those that people point out a lot. Like Jim Ryan was coming out and saying things against ever doing crossplay, while Shawn Layden was coming out there being like, maybe it could happen. It seemed like even with them, those are two high up people at Sony.
Shawn Layden that's the best he could say. Since he didn't know if it was going to happen or not.
Right. And especially in hindsight, it kind of looks like, oh yeah, he kind of just had his hands tied. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, what are you gonna?
Oh, but some things as far as may not be as direct to the Shawn Layden thing, but is a very interesting thing about the potential power struggle and confusion within Sony. This says the person who said report this thoughts from a third-party developer on PS5 transition. As the perceived power struggle between Ryan and Layden comes to a head, it's starting to affect the upcoming next-gen transition. An employee at a major third-party publisher with direct knowledge of the situation has told Game Daily the confusion resulting from the global reorganization has made the switch, already difficult as is, even more concerning. Speaking under the condition anonymity, how is that probably still in that word?
It's a weird one.
Yeah. Games Daily source relayed what their company is facing. Quote, "This is the least amount of clarity we've ever had on a new console this close to transition," the source said. "I believe that the global restructuring is exponentially exacerbating the already difficult process of transitioning to a new generation. And now we're getting nervous. Read, very nervous." Yeah.
And where was this a quote? Who was this a quote from? Or
an
anonymous
employee
quote
at a major third-party publisher.
Okay.
Anonymous one. And this is from Games Daily, same article.
So, if I think both me and you are thinking that something akin to like Shawn Layden having disagreements and either wanting to leave or being pushed out, I think me and you probably think one of those two is probably the most likely scenario.
It wasn't like Reggie where he was he's kind of
he's like, I did everything I wanted to do, everything's great, but I'm going to retire.
Nintendo's like, we love Reggie.
Yeah, they did all this like it was a big deal like this, and I think Shawn Layden is earning of that kind of goodbye if it was that kind of thing. So I don't think it is. And if it's not, I'm really not trying to be like a YouTube clickbait title or whatever, but I mean, should we be worried? Is there cause to be worried about PlayStation and their like management going into this next gen?
Potentially, because now they don't have I guess a head of the Sony.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I feel like if this was planned, then you would probably have the replacement lined up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Because again, but we're just going to use this example probably this whole conversation because it's just a recent big comparative thing. They had Doug Bowser already,
right, and
that was good because they were able to use the memes to help make people feel better. But yeah, the fact that they're doing this so close to launch, Layden got this particular position just a year and a half-ish. Yeah. And generation next year and all that, and how sudden this all is. It's there probably are some problems in the we're just saying they don't have a successor already announced.
Yeah. And just if like in the post-Layden world Sony starts to change a bunch again, like they started focusing a lot more on these single player first party projects, but people have said that Jim Ryan is a lot more like wanting to focus on like games as a service and things like that. Could we see Sony start to change? And I don't know, like I can't help but feel like this is almost like, Xbox leaving the 360 generation going to the Xbox One. There was a lot of changes and there was a lot of like confusion on what they wanted to do and their messaging for their console, and that ended in catastrophe for them.
And then Phil Spencer came.
And then Phil Spencer came to like try to clean everything up. I can't help but feel like Xbox is the one that has a little bit more of a grounded stance of where they're going next gen, while I feel like PlayStation is the one that's kind of stumbling ass first into next gen.
I wonder how much our next story is tied potentially with this as far as the decision.
Probably a lot.
Should we just go into it? And
do you have anything more to say about Shawn Layden?
No, not really.
I mean, I think this next one does kind of tie into it. So
the timing is interesting, I guess. Okay, this comes from Grace Chen from the PlayStation blog. PlayStation Now is the first and only console game subscription service that uses cloud technology to deliver an unprecedented breadth of games through streaming and downloading. Today, I am truly pleased to announce new updates to this service that take our subscription gaming efforts to the next level. Starting today, PS Now will be offered at a more compelling price that's comparable to other entertainment streaming services on the market. Current customers will see this new price reflected in their next billing cycle. New prices will be, and I'm just going to read the U.S. ones. If you're not in the U.S.,
then we don't care about
exactly. Yeah, you'll probably you can look up. For U.S., $9.99 monthly from $19.99 monthly. $24.99 quarterly. Don't know what the quarterly price was. It was $44.99, and it is now $59.99 yearly, and that's down from $99.99 yearly. We currently have the largest game library of any console game subscription service, with more than 800 games available. Starting today, we're adding more blockbuster content that includes some of the most highly played and critically acclaimed PS4 games ever. Check out the first wave of new content below, which is available for 3 months. God of War 2018. Make it clear.
Yes.
Grand Theft Auto 5, Infamous Second Son, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. These games will be available from October 1st, 2019 until January 2nd, 2020. Each month, the service will add a new selection of marquee games that will be available for a limited period. Marquee content is on top of the existing offering of popular evergreen titles that are added to PS Now on a regular basis.
So PS Now is looking worth it, I believe, Jeff.
I believe that's what the kids call it.
I think for the first time in its existence, I think PlayStation Now has kind of, PlayStation Now has always kind of been laughed at or like forgotten about a lot. Yeah. And part of it was $20 a month is a bit absurd. Like that is too much. I mean, the only reason I had it is because I got it on a special discount that they were offering at some time. But no, this is even lower than the special discount I had. Now, for the price of like one full price game a month, you get this entire subscription. A year. Sorry, a month would not be worth it. So, I meant
$60 a month.
We're upping the price. No,
please clap.
$60 a year. I think that's definitely doable.
Oh, yeah. That's especially with these marquee title things and adding them monthly, even if it is a limited time.
Yeah,
if you play them as they come out, you got God of War, and you can play around Grand Theft Auto 5. You got Uncharted 4.
Yeah, if this is any indication of how big they are, like God of War, if you just have like the previous year's big game, that's a big deal.
Next month game, Death Stranding.
Then we'll know that, like we were talking about with like PlayStation changing and trying to get that will be like the big double down, like day and date.
You think only Microsoft can put their games on their streaming services day one?
Yeah, which I will say, like, because we are definitely going to talk about what we think they're going for with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I'll just say, like, I think from someone who's played PlayStation Now a bunch, like, because on the surface it seems like this is a very similar price to Xbox Games Pass.
Yeah.
And technically you have a lot more games on this than Xbox Game Pass does. I mean, this has been around longer and has built up a lot of games. Obviously, the catch is, at least with PS3 games on the service, you can only stream.
Yeah.
From my experience, and I'm even playing in a side of my house that's notoriously awful for internet, and we've even played fighting games on there, and I think it usually works pretty well. Like, occasionally we have a hiccup, but like, overall, like, I don't think it's worth not buying it over. Like, as long as you have barely good internet, it seems to work good enough, and you can download like all the PS4 games and PS2 games. I think it's really just PS3. So yeah, I think it's really worth it. But also going forward, I see PlayStation trying to double down a lot more on PS Now and probably putting a lot more big titles to try to get the people that you thought you would never want PlayStation Now, but look at all this value. I don't see them ever doing the full, we're doing all of our first party titles day in day out like Xbox.
At least not for a while if they ever do it.
Because I think too much of their business is wrapped up in the first parties. Like they're so like Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Horizon 2, God of War 2, whatever. Whereas Xbox, they're gearing up to have that kind of thing, but so far it's been years.
Xbox had to do it, or didn't even have to, but they did it because they were falling behind. And I mean, to be honest, their game, the first party offerings haven't been up to snuff, and Phil Spencer's even admitted it. But yeah, they seem to be going towards it. They're just now at a point they can't go back on this. Like Microsoft can't go back on the first party.
No, they can't. Yeah, that would be very bad.
Yeah, like you said, Sony relies more on their first parties, and they get received a lot better. They sell better generally, and all that. If they somehow fall behind for some reason, that's just a card they have in their back pocket.
Yeah,
this is something they have to play.
And I think the PlayStation probably has the luxury of like, most of the time they won't do it, but then maybe for some of the smaller first parties, like maybe they'll throw one in there every now and then. They could. I think you're gonna start seeing more high profile, even if it's like Horizon 2's on there 6 months after.
And even if it was
launch.
smaller titles, I could hype that they said, "Hey, Medieval Concrete Genie."
Yeah, no, that would be sweet. It'd be like, okay, like, in the same way that we talk about Xbox Game Pass being like, hell yeah, we don't have to pay extra for that. We'd be saying the same thing about Concrete Genie. And this is like, we've kind of been saying this for a long time. Like, PlayStation Now could very easily be competitive if it was just cheaper.
And now it is, and I think it will. I gotta imagine the amount of subscriptions skyrocketed today.
Yeah. And people talked about, this is also something, even if you for some reason didn't have a PlayStation 4, you only have PC and Xbox or something, you could get this and play God of War on your PC.
Yeah.
You've never had a way of playing God of War or Uncharted, but now you can.
No, I think that for some people that will be worth it, or maybe even doing the jumping in and out of the monthly, doing it monthly depending on what the marquee title is. I think if they're not gonna go all in on having all their first party games on there, the marquee title thing is a smart play. It kind of puts eyes on it. Like, okay, these are the limited games. You got a limit time to do it. Jump in. There will be plenty of people, I'm sure, that will do the $9.99 a month just to play some of these games, jump in and out. Because for some of these games you can get less than $10 in places, but some of the, obviously not all of them you can. I'm very curious to see, because this is a pretty stacked first month as far as it goes. It has God of War, their best received first party game. You got Grand Theft Auto 5, which is Grand Theft Auto 5. That's not even their game. So I think that's a nice confirmation of there will be third-party games in this.
Yeah.
Infamous Second Son, it's an older game, but that's to be expected for this to happen. Uncharted 4, kind of an older game too, but
it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. So, but this is the first month, so I'm curious to see how they follow it up.
Yeah.
Because they said it's going to be monthly. Not all these last just a month. But I'm curious to see what games they add on to this, how many they're going to add a month, and if all of them are going to have a 3-month period like these games.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be varying amounts of time or all the same.
Because I doubt it's going to be maybe this many games. This was just a starting point, because 4 games a month, and if they're going to be a good many first-party games, they'll go through that list quickly.
Yeah. I mean, some of this could even be used from a third-party perspective. Like, this could even be more appealing than Game Pass at times or something, because this is almost like a 3-month period where you, like, market your game.
Yeah.
Like, people could play your game for a little bit, and then maybe they want to buy it after the 3-month period is over, Like, whereas Xbox Game Pass is just there for the most part. I mean, some people have taken their games down, obviously. But
it's scary. Any game could leave. So, yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think this will do for PlayStation Now's player base? Like, do you think this is they're going to see a big return on this change quickly?
I have to imagine so. I mean, again, I think their subscription thing will skyrocket, because I don't think there was a big amount of people that were subscribing to this, especially not consistently. But
at least it definitely doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. But with this, I feel like there were a lot more people that will, even just now, even if it kind of slows down a little bit, but now they see that price like, ooh, and then jump right in.
Yeah, it sounds like you might be one of those people.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and do it, because why not?
You got to grind up Blaze Blue so you can kick our butts.
It's true.
And Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear. I got prepared for Guilty Gear 2020. Oh, yeah, there's a new trailer for that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer, but
it shows some May gameplay. Dolphins, orcas.
Dolphins everywhere in orcas.
Yes. No, it looks awesome. So yeah, and I feel like with this whole thing saying they're gonna put more emphasis on this, I think we'll see more games, bigger games, on it. Hopefully, more newer games that will just be on the service that are not the marquee titles.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they court more third-party games, kind of like Game Pass has. I mean, they got Devil May Cry 5 on it. I mean, some more games like that.
Yeah. Even if they have, like, here's some kind of newish indie titles that are even on here. Even that could be really cool.
Yeah. Like, no, I mean, what if they pulled an idea at Xbox type thing and had, those indie games that were in their state of play, may not right away, but shortly after, like, hey, this will be on PS Now at some point.
Yeah, and I think you kind of have to start doing that because Xbox has made sure that like every major Xbox thing you've watched the last 2 years always talks about
Game Pass.
Game Pass.
Game Pass is now a part of the brand's identity.
Yeah, whereas when's the last time you've ever seen Sony talk about PlayStation Now?
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of people probably are reading this and like, that's still a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That's something that they're going to have to fix. And I do think you're going to, kind of in a similar way that State of Play is like, we'll take that Nintendo Direct and yoink it up. I think that PlayStation Now is going to start looking a lot more like Game Pass than it has previously. Because it used to be like games were added to PlayStation Now all the time, and it just like kind of came and went. Whereas every time Xbox Game Pass talks about putting games on there, we're like paying attention. It's a big deal. You know?
Imagine if Sony did just pull a, Game Pass with its first party stuff. Then we only need that Game Pass, the Nintendo games, and a select couple third-party games.
We'll be like, that would almost be fully realize the like Netflix for gaming thing. Yeah. You only like spend extra money on third parties.
And Nintendo.
Yep. Always gonna be shelling out the cash for Nintendo.
Always. I bought a Wii U. Damn it.
You'll pay $60 for your Game Boy port, and you'll like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about it. But I am very interested to keep up with PlayStation Now. And I want to see if they do start like people start talking about it in the way that they do Game Pass. Because I feel like a lot of people are just kind of cynical about PlayStation Now because I mean $20 a month was a joke, and I get that. But now that it's improving, I think it's worth looking at. But I also sympathize with the people that might say, I have too many subscription services, and this is just, I can't take anymore. And I also get that.
I get that too, I think. But I feel like this is one of those subscriptions where people, they'll say that. And I understand that, but they might do it because depending on how they do they do this in the future, it is a thing that might ultimately save you money as far as
for this
hobby.
It's honestly one of those things that like, I wouldn't say right now because I think Game Pass has more newer games, but there's a chance that this thing could very quickly surpass Game Pass. I mean, it already has way more games and it has a lot of big games. I mean, this is something that if Sony put enough into, they already have the much bigger player base. So if I'm a third party and if PlayStation Now starts blowing up, that's where I would rather be, So I don't know.
Yeah, this was a nice way to help close the gap between Sony and Microsoft and, a field that Microsoft just far surpassed Sony in.
Yeah, and they have like a 2-year lead on them as far as building this audience.
I am very curious to see how Sony handles PlayStation Now in the future. Yeah, will they show it off like Microsoft does Game Pass? Will they have events that they just show off Game Pass games or videos?
I kind of feel like you have to. If you make this move, you can't. You don't just make it cheaper and then that's it. I think it's going to become a bigger
and
part.
it'll just be the fact of there's some PlayStation Now announcements about new games being added, but it was very little fanfare and even marketing by Sony about these more key titles, as far as like the immediate marketing for it and everything. That will probably get talked about more, and depending on what games they pick, of course. Like, let's say they add Days Gone to it next month.
Yeah.
All we have to go off is these 4 titles, so we don't know what kind of pattern it's going to be.
Even if it starts getting to where, like, 6 months after the big game, you get it. Or
about a year.
Even a year after. Like God of War is still huge. I mean, it's over a year ago, but the fact that that's on there is, like, that's going to sell PlayStation Now. Yeah. Subscriptions by God of War being on there.
I mean, and I'm sure Spider-Man within the next year was going to be on there.
Probably.
And there'll probably be a big thing where they add Horizon when they announce Horizon 2.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, exactly. Like you do the Horizon 2 reveal trailer, and also go play the original right now on PlayStation Now.
Yep.
Yeah. So
is Last of Us remastered on PlayStation Now already?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm just asking partly because it's on PlayStation Plus this month.
Yeah.
I need to look for the PlayStation Now games again.
There's so many of them.
Oh, there are. I'm going to try to make a list as far as me maybe interested in playing in. And for the sake of our streaming thing.
Yeah, and I think it's encouraging. There's been several times that we've been sitting on the couch and I just open up PlayStation Now and start browsing through, and pretty much every time we found something fun. Whether it was like finding Blaze Blue and playing it, or EDF.
Man, I gotta tell you,
EDF.
I've been so tempted by Blaze Blue. I almost bought Guilty Gear last week because it was out for like $12. I'm like, there's too much stuff and all that. I shouldn't spend this money, but if I'm doing this, I might mess around with it some.
Yeah, and you can download those.
Oh yeah,
are the ones
I'm gonna
download
download Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear just to have on my thing. I want to play more of those games. Get to know the Guilty Gear stuff, so I get hyped about certain character announcements. The new character they announced looks cool. Or the new old character, because it's a character that's been in the rest of the series. But okay, Dar, are you ready to move on and talk about more about PlayStation games?
Welcome to the Playcast station.
Hey, if Microsoft has big news, which they kind of do, we'll talk about. Well, it wasn't big
Wait
news,
your turn, Microsoft.
Yeah, you're next. Okay. So, Darby, The Last of Us Part 2 release date was announced last week in the State of Play and all that. We talked about that. We don't need to necessarily talk about that. But on that same day, the day we recorded, a whole bunch of the games journalists and media and all that stuff got to play
these hacks.
Yeah, these hacks, these losers. Got to play 2 to 3 hours of The Last of Us Part 2. And videos were shown and footage and all that. So we got some new gameplay information. So I figured I'd read off some of the stuff from there.
Give me them deets.
Yeah,
Jeff.
give the deets. We can talk about them, and if there's anything we remember from listening to people talk about our footage, we bring it up.
Huber's hyped.
Huber is hyped. Oh yeah. Actually, before we do that, let's get to this is related to it. Let's talk about that multiplayer.
It's a new segment. It's Jeff talks about Last of Us multiplayer, recurring segment that's going to be in every podcast from here on out.
So, Darby, at first, it was announced that Last of Us Part 2 would not have multiplayer.
Yes.
The internet freaked out.
Yes.
And then Naughty Dog clarified what they actually meant.
Yes.
And people are still freaking out.
Yes. All of that is true.
But I'm going to read their statement for the clarification.
Okay. These hacks.
Yeah. From these hacks, Naughty Dog. We wanted to address multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2. As we've stated, the single-player campaign is far and away the most ambitious project Naughty Dog has ever undertaken. Okay. Likewise, as development began...
What if they came out and said, like, we're really half-assed in this one? Like,
I cry.
It's about half the effort, half the size.
I want to be as heartbroken as Olivia, I don't think, but I'll be sad. Likewise, as development began on the evolution of our factions mode from The Last of Us Part 1, the vision of the team grew beyond an additional mode that could be included with our enormous single-player campaign. Wanting to support both visions, we made the difficult choice that Last of Us Part 2 would not include an online mode. However, you will eventually experience the fruits of our team's online ambition, but not as part of The Last of Us Part 2. When and where it will be realized is still to be determined, but rest assured, we are as big of a fan of factions as the rest of our community and are excited to share more when it's ready. Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog. I think it's important to put out there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
oh, I will.
Okay. Neither me and I just want to go ahead and clarify out there. I am a huge Last of Us fan. I never even touched factions once. Did you?
Maybe once.
Okay, yeah. Maybe once and never. So, obviously, we're not the, like, what we're about to say should be prefaced by, like, we didn't really care about this mode to begin with. But obviously, this is something like, for The Last of Us, I'm going for a single player thing or whatever, and I had never even touched factions. So, this doesn't impact me much. But I definitely understand that the people who liked factions, like, really liked factions. Like,
so here's where I'm at, just generally speaking, of course. I get being upset about it not being included in The Last of Us Part 2, or when it was first announced that no multiplayer was going to be in it. So as far as we knew, it just didn't exist. But
I mean, Neil Druckmann did say like 2 years ago or something there will be multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, well, yeah. You kind of upset about that, but I don't see much reason to be upset with after this statement, because hypothetically and based on this, that means it's going to be its own game. It'll probably have more in it.
Yeah, no, like I think this will ultimately be a better thing. Like, yeah, like it's not. It would. You could be more mad if they came out and said like, no, it's dead. Like, yeah, that we just don't want to do it anymore. Then like, yeah, at least like. If anything, it sounds like it's probably going to be better. It's going to be more of a weight.
Yeah,
but like,
and I think overall based on what we know, them separating it is a good idea because it sounds like it's just not ready. Is part of it.
And
so,
I don't think you want them to put out a half-baked multiplayer
or
mode.
delay the single-player campaign, which
has already been delayed. Let's face it.
Yeah.
It was already supposed to come out before.
Yeah, and they're like two. I feel like more than a lot of games that have a single-player multiplayer, these are just too much of a separate thing to where it makes sense to make them separate games as far as just the way
the
basis around them.
You compare it to like Halo.
Yeah.
It's like I think both are very important in Halo, but in The Last of Us, it's one of those things that like there's an objective thing that the vast majority of people are going to play it for, and it's not multiplayer. Yeah. Like you said, they're two separate entities.
Yeah, but I think this is good because, like I said, they can put all they have into it. It can be its own game. So since it will be separate, they got to do more with it than just being a quote unquote tacked on multiplayer thing. And honestly, that's. The fact that they'll have to announce it and market it on its own, I think we'll get more eyes on it and get more players.
100%.
And just from a Sony standpoint, this corporate Sony, I'm sure they are okay with this because Last of Us Part 2 was going to sell what it sold regardless of the multiplayer. The sales they lost because it doesn't have the multiplayer is probably pretty small.
Yeah, minuscule.
Yeah. Now they'll be able to market the multiplayer on its own, get more eyes on it, get more people into it, and that just gives them a different kind of title because they know, they're just a cinematic, single player guys. Now we know they're going to have a multiplayer centric game coming.
Yeah, something. And apparently, something just Naughty Dog wanted to do. I obviously, personally, I'll be a little worried because Naughty Dog's never taken on something that big of a multiplayer thing.
Yeah.
But the fans of factions, like you said, this. By all assumptions, should be a much bigger and like more fully realized version of factions or whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah. And I think the good thing is especially since like you said, Neil Druckmann said they were working on it 2 years ago. So this is you assume that if they've been working on it times, they have a multiplayer team that's been working on this. I'm sure they went over and had helped with the main single player game on some things, but. So you got to assume they've been working on it this whole time.
Yeah.
That just means they'll have the development cycle of a regular full game, which can only be good.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I think you have to have more patience, but I think in the long run, you'll probably be happier with this than... Because again, we criticize a lot of games for putting in very half-baked ideas, shoved into the back end of a game. And like they said, I'm sure we saw... what it took to make Red Dead. Games like this are a freaking pain in the ass to make, and I'm sure this single player campaign took all they had. And I would. I mean, obviously, I'm not someone that played factions anyway, so whatever. Who cares what I say? But I would, if they came and they were like, "We're delaying this game until December of next year because of the multiplayer mode," I'd be like, are you kidding me? Just give me the damn game.
Yeah.
Add it in this DLC later. I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
okay, let's get to the single player.
I think we both agree that once the game comes out, I think this whole multiplayer controversy is going to kind of be blown over for the most part.
Okay.
Especially because they have it coming out anyway.
Yeah. Okay. This is Naughty Dog's longest game. Yeah. It seems like it's going to be a lot more into this game as far as the length.
80 hours.
80 hours. Please don't be that long. So, yeah, that's exciting. The game's physical version will span 2 discs.
Which, could just be because it's big as far as, assets-wise, not necessarily length-wise, but...
I know.
But,
I know,
I'm just... People listening could think 2 discs, oh my god, it's gonna be
Red Dead length.
It's gonna be a 100-hour game. It's no, that is it. They just have some high-res zombies.
Yes. Okay, every enemy character has a name. They want you to feel bad about killing these people.
Yeah, I heard Greg talk about that, how, whenever they shot someone and they were like, Abigail, no! It's oh, shit.
You bastard!
You killed Abigail!
You killed Kenny! You bastards!
Yeah, it's actually a South Park crossover. so I'm not buying the game.
Doggos, Darby.
Yeah,
There are doggo enemies that will sniff you out if you're hiding and go after you.
Yeah, I kind of don't get where all this, like, people act like this was the first time dogs have ever been an enemy that you fight in a video game. I've killed a lot of dogs in video games.
It's true.
It's not something I'm proud of.
Yeah, but at least for The Last of Us, it obviously is different. It's one of those things that will add to the difficulty in general. It's like, you can't just hide and wait things out as much. It adds to the stress of the game. The companion AI has been improved upon. We'll have less immersion-breaking moments. So, less of, like, okay, I guess we'll say Joel in this case, since Ellie's the main character as far as Joel walking in front of the soldiers, like, right in front of them, like, what was that?
I mean, I had, like, Ellie literally, like, run into the guy, like, over and over again. But I just like to picture Joel, like, bouncing around.
Yep. So, this is one I find the most interesting out of this stuff, I think, yeah. Enemy AI improved. Example, Ellie had and this is a story I heard someone say. I might have been Michael Huber. Easy eyes. Ellie had a standoff against an enemy, and instead of the enemy waiting there to die, the enemy left the confrontation to call for help and brought back a group of enemies.
Yeah.
So you can't just wait it out. You got to actually try to kill them, or they will go get help. Call for help.
And I think you could definitely in the original Last of Us, you could cheese some.
Oh yeah,
some of those battles
so
for sure.
This will, based on this, it sounds like you'll be able to cheese things less, which just adds to the stress of this game.
It's more immersion break. Even like simple things like Greg talked about, like he got to like a big locked door and he just assumed because of video games it's just gonna be locked or whatever. And then Ellie's friend, I forget her name, Dana, was like, "Hey, just throw this brick through the window and let's crawl through." And it's like, oh, okay. So it's like, yeah, that's a lot more realistic. You know, you get to video games, it's like you can literally see through. It's like, just let me break the glass and go through. And they're like, no, we're actually going to, let's go, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but also, like, Greg also talked about how, yeah, the AI felt a lot more like, as he even, like you said, he, like, shot someone and just assumed they were dead, and then, like, he started doing something else, and then he turned around, and they had, like, crawled over to a gun and was, like, shooting and stuff. Like, they weren't dead yet. Yeah. Cool stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Ellie can jump. That's all that needs to be said. There's the dodge button.
Yeah, so these two things, from what I've heard of people, they make Ellie, like, obviously Joel was a big dude. Ellie's like a smaller, like more agile person or whatever. And from what people have said, like she plays like that. Like she handles differently. Like she handles how you would expect, you know, her to handle. Like she doesn't just handle like Joel, you know, that's cool. Like it could have just been Joel again. But like the fact that like she can jump and there's a dedicated dodge button and everything, like a lot of that's very different than, you know, The Last of Us, which was just pretty much cover shooter for me. Yeah, this sounds like it has a lot more going on.
Yep, and they just show new stuff, more stuff like stealth elements, hiding in grass, crawling through grass, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a new infected type, the Shambler, which I think is pretty much what you call a bloater in Left 4 Dead.
Shambles. Okay,
I think is like a big fat thing that blows up.
Big old thing. Yeah.
New types. How will they explain why these things were in the first game? They won't.
But video games. Are we done with the Last of Us details?
Yeah.
All right. One more Last of Us thing that I just want to talk about, and then we can move on. Jed, I just want to get your opinion because I don't think we completely talked about this last week. Do you think we're getting swerved about Dana? What is the likelihood that we're getting swerved about that? Because I definitely feel like, and I guess mild, they're not really spoilers because we don't know what's happening, but in all the trailers for The Last of Us Part 2, they're really hardcore making it seem like Dana was killed and this is a revenge arc for Ellie.
It is 100% a revenge arc.
Yeah, it is a revenge arc, but it definitely feels like they're showing their relationship, and then obviously something happens. There's a gunshot, bad things, and then Ellie's all pissed off, and it almost seems like Joel is trying to stop her.
So,
but it seems like it's so aggressively trying to seem that way, but in everyone who talks about playing the demos and everything, they never like there's missing pieces.
They never actually. It doesn't seem like in the because people play two different parts. One where you're working with Dana and doing like a supply run or something.
Yeah,
and then a second part of the game where it's later after the incident. Apparently in the incident, they never mention Dana as far as, like, they never actually mention what the exact motivation is. And Neil Druckmann said, hey, we don't want to spoil everything.
Yeah, and Greg said, like, the two different things, like, her going on this revenge arc and the, like, happy section he was playing with Dana were, like, in two very different, like, seasons. Mm-hmm. One was in the winter and one seemed like the summer. Yeah, it's like, so why is it that much later she's going on this revenge arc? It could just be because that's when she got information or something, but I think there might be a swerve also because many people have rightfully pointed out the kind of kill your gaze trope.
Yeah, and I feel like Naughty Dog is
aware of that. Like, yeah. And if you're not familiar, it's basically like in popular culture, lots. It happens so much that when there are like gay characters, they never get the happy ending, and they're usually used as kind of a plot device to like they have tragic stories. A big
example as someone who watches the show, The 100. Man, that shitstorm.
Okay, yeah, I knew there was some show that was famous for it.
They did that, and oh my god. But.
And this just kind of screams that it's very tropey. Not like The Last of Us. I love The Last of Us, but even The Last of Us is kind of tropey, and when you really like talk about the story, but it's handled so well that it gets better. But this is a more dangerous trope, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like they're pushing you so hard to seemingly make you think that it's Dana who gets killed, or is the reason she's going on this revenge trip, and then not completely making it clear it is her that makes you think
there's something up.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more and more towards there's something up. I have no idea what. I just feel like we're being misled somehow. Because again, Naughty Dog are incredible writers. And I mean, again, I think Dana is gonna be like, I feel like a lot of times the kill your gaze trope, it's like they're just a plot device and they're not really fleshed out. Well, I'm sure we're gonna care about Dana so much, and that would make it slightly better. But it's still kind of an overdone trope.
Tinfoil hat time.
Yes, this is what I wanted, Jeff. And I wanted to pull out.
Just taking different fan theories, I'm just squishing them together. Okay, so when it gets to the point where the whole dead thing happens, somehow that may not be that exact mission where it's just Dana. Joel's there as well, and they're holding Dana and Joel both at gunpoint.
Do you choose?
Then Ellie does the whole no thing. You hear the gunshot. It fades to black. Time skip. You don't see Dana or whatever. You just kind of see Joel, and then you go through the revenge mission, and then at the end, and Joel's there and all that. Then at the end, you go back to the settlement. Dana's there. Yeah. Joel was dead the whole time.
Yeah.
She just went crazy.
I mean, people have been bringing up it's not really Joel since the very beginning,
I need to see him interact with someone other than Ellie.
I mean, we've only really seen him twice. I know, so it's hard, but yeah, that could be. It'll be kind of hard to go the whole game and not have us figure that out. I know. If Joel's there the whole time. I know. Okay, well, no one ever talks to Joel. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I'll be disappointed for the trope. I'm sure that Naughty Dog will still handle it with good writing, but it's still kind of a bummer trope anyway. But even if it does end up just being what we think it is, I think there still could be a great version of that. But I still do feel like there's something,
I mean, it could, we're just saying it, it has to be Dana or potentially, Joel, and Ellie's just crazy in imagining him. It could be a character we don't know yet, but they're trying to keep that character secret.
Because remember that second trailer, it was filled with characters that we have no clue who they are, and they're obviously important,
Maybe Ellie has a little sister or something that we didn't know about. I mean, not like it's her biological sister, but like an adopted sister thing,
It was her pet goldfish, Steven.
Steven!
Okay, all right, we can move on now. I'm sorry, I just wanted to pull out the tinfoil hats.
Okay. Now, Darby, we're now on Xbox podcast.
Transition. Sony Pony's dead. One episode to one episode. That's it.
Yep. Get ready for the box pox.
Yep. Box pox.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an idea Xbox Game Pass. We mentioned it last week. I said I was gonna go through it, so we are. Did you watch it?
Nope.
You failed me, Darby. Okay. So this is pretty much like an Indies Direct from Nintendo, but these are all Game Pass games. So I'm gonna go through the list, say them, maybe talk a little about the game, say if they're on console, on PC, or whatever, and say when they came out and stuff. Actually, all these games coming out, they all just said as far as release date coming 2019. So I'm not gonna read that every time.
No, I want you to read it every single time.
Okay, if you say so. Okay, first game they showed was Genesis Noir coming to console and PC. It's gonna be on Game Pass day one that it releases.
I like Game Pass.
Yeah, this looks pretty cool. Very noir-y, as the title says.
It's this one, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. Looks cool.
What'd you think about it?
I think it looks cool. They do a developer interview thing a little later to go a little more into it.
Yeah, I like the art style.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Game Pass art. It's on the PC one.
Cool.
The next one is Munchkin. Coming to console and PC. It's going to be on there day one. It looks like a multiplayer thing.
Dungeon crawler thing.
Yeah, multiplayer dungeon crawler thing. So that could be a fun one to mess
We have a
around
lot of those, though.
with. Yeah. Ukulele is going to be on there on consoles later this year. Yeah.
You spent $60 on it.
No, I
$40 on it. $20 on
It
it.
was like $25.
$20 on it. I forgot you did the Kickstarter.
Yep. My name's in the credits.
Woo-wee.
So get on Game Pass. Just go to credits and find my name.
Is it one of those, like, for getting it on Game Pass for no extra cost, you'll probably feel a lot better about it because you didn't have, like...
Potentially.
Just, you know.
I think it's a good Game Pass game. The Escapist 2. Old game. But nice tab on there. City Skyline Darby. You going to play this one?
Look at all them cities. Is this like a City Tycoon, whatever?
Yep.
What was it called? It wasn't.
Zoo Tycoon?
Zoo Tycoon is something. What is it? Just Sim City?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something.
Those are scenes. Oh, yeah. Escapist 2 is on consoles. City Skyline is on PC.
Yee.
Yeet. And Lonely Mountains Downhill for console and PC down. This game looks pretty cool. It looks like Trials, but you're going down a mountain.
Nice. Yeah. There's a little bit more of a cartoony looking Trials.
Yeah. This is a good Game Pass game.
Also, FYI, when we get in this new house, me putting like the videos and stuff like this that we're watching on the screen is going to be a whole hell of a lot easier. So sorry we can't do it right now, but we will be able to do it soon.
Yeah.
Our whole production is about to get a lot better. But anyway.
But this game looks cool. I think it'll be a fun one for us to kind of mess around with.
Yeah.
Next game,
That's
Demon's
the glory
Tilt.
of Game Pass.
Yep. It's like Demon's Tilt is coming to PC. It's going to be a day when it comes out.
Pinball.
Yep. It's a crazy looking pinball game.
It's no Yoku's Island Express,
But what is?
Yeah.
Well, it looks pretty. Now, next game, I'm excited for it being on there. Minute.
Yes.
Console and PC.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play this, and yeah, especially Game Pass now for show.
Yeah, this is Genesis Noir. This is when they did the interview.
Yeah. But yeah, explain kind of what Minute is.
So, Minute is kind of like a action adventure type game where you're this little, I don't even know, a duck.
Yeah, you are a little duck-like thing.
Yeah, and you explore the land or whatever. It's like an old school style graphics and all that. But you pretty much die after a minute.
Yeah.
The whole world resets or whatever.
You only have a minute, the whole world resets, but you kind of have to like remember what you learned in that minute. So you have to like go.
Yeah.
You know, like you end up trying to like perfect your run to finish it in the minute. It's like a really cool concept.
Yeah. People seem like it. Red Strings Club going to be on PC. Looks like one of those games that could be pretty neat.
Yeah, there's like a story
Looks like in some weird things. You make
Making
alcohol
drinks. Like a Papers, Please.
The Talos Principle Darby, console and PC.
No, I've heard the name, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a puzzle game?
Yeah, nah. Looks too witnessy for me.
Vampirus Cold Soul, console and PC. Looks like a kind of RPG thing.
Looks like Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
Darkest Dungeon is like really hard.
That's Zelda, or Samus. One of those consoles is like Samus. State of Mind is next. It's a sci-fi looking jam thing.
And spies
Spurs
with weird polygon people.
Yep. The budget, Darby.
Budget.
They had a very high one, so they just made polygons. And they're Jedi.
It kind of looks like a game from in Main Dreams.
Yep. Dead by Daylight, console and PC. Everyone's favorite game. I think it was already on the one on console. I think they're just adding the PC, or maybe it's the other way around. One of those. And then there's a montage of a bunch of games like Steam World Dig 2 and a bunch of other junk. That's already on Game Pass, so nothing new. Otherwise, they're listed. So overall, pretty solid thing. I mean, there are much worse ways
But
to
the
spend.
Demogorgon.
Yeah, the Demogorgon. Nice little 11-minute thing showing off a bunch of smaller indie games, which is always nice to look at, especially if you have Game Pass.
Yes.
Like, all this is available to you at some point this year.
Yeah, there's definitely some things in there I'm interested in. I definitely need to, especially when I'm done with Fire Emblem, I need to just sit down with Game Pass and just start picking random little games to try out. We should do that on stream.
Speaking of Game Pass, Darby, they announced more Game Pass games today, but the ones they announced are only for console at the moment. They hinted at some of them will be coming to PC.
Give me DMC5, you cowards.
And the list of games is Dishonored 2.
That's a pretty big one.
World War Z.
That's also a big one. People like that one.
Ukulele, we're into that. Fallout New Vegas.
Hoo-wee.
Felix the Reaper, which I'm excited to play.
Yeah.
And Panzer Dragoon Orta. Nintendo got the exclusive remake thing, but Xbox Game Pass gets an old one.
Woo!
So yeah, another good list of games to add on there. They said there are going to be more coming this month.
It is, and everyone says Dishonored 2 is great. Just no one played it.
I have to imagine that one might be on PC. Actually, I don't know if the other... Do you know if the other Bethesda games are on PC or not?
I don't think
Game
so.
Pass?
I don't think so, but I might be wrong.
But that just adds to, continues to trend up. Most Bethesda games from this generation are being added.
I expect because all of those like Skyrim, Oblivion, New Vegas, Fallout 3, all those are on PlayStation now.
Okay.
So I kind of would expect them all to probably be on the Xbox Game Pass at some point too.
Yeah. They've just been adding them all, and Bethesda's like, hey, we're probably not going to sell much more, so here you go.
Gotta do something. Yeah, that Dishonored 2 definitely seems like a please play the game.
Please, master.
Yeah, Bethesda just seems to play ball with everyone. They're like, hey, you want to put our game on your store? Sure.
Yeah.
Put it on your toaster.
Put it on the toaster. Speaking of toasters, there's no toaster Pokemon at the moment.
Okay. I thought we were going to Star Wars, so it still didn't make sense there either.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of Pokemon talk, I think, this month, Darby.
But not today. Nope, no Pokemon talk today.
Okay. No, but they announced today that Pokemon Sword and Shield are going to be the Game Informer cover game for the month. So a bunch of new information, all that. And as far as like talking about stuff next week, there's going to be a 24-hour live stream where they just show an in-game forest.
Which is really funny. But
Yeah, where they will definitely show new Pokemon. So
I'll just wait for the Game Explain video where they point out all the new Pokemon for the entire 24-hour live stream.
That's what I'm doing. But so Game Informer, when they announced it, said for the next 2 hours or hour 30 or whatever, every 15 minutes we're gonna give you a new fact about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, okay, so let's talk about those, Darby.
How substantial are these facts?
Some are bigger than others. First one. They reveal HMs are no longer Pokemon Sword and Shield. HMs were in the past games. I don't even know why they need to clarify that. Moving on.
Jeff, they have a lot of facts to get through. We got
Game Informer reveals that autosave is in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but it can be turned off. This is very important, Darby. We could tell by the demos because of an autosave little thing in the corner, the autosave's going to be in it. This is important that you can turn it off so you can save scum. You got to be able to save scum those eggs for those EVs.
You bad boys.
Yes, we are. And that way you can save scum to get Pokemon and all that. Save scumming is an important part of Pokemon.
But not in Nuzlocke.
Not in Nuzlocke.
Not in Nuzlocke.
If you get bad RNG, you fucked.
That's you. That's your life.
That's gonna be us.
That's gonna be us.
That's gonna be us. Let's see. Next thing.
Oh boy, we yell a lot.
Yes, it's very important that we yell. This next thing will affect our Nuzlocke. Game Informer reveals EXP share is automatic without use of an item Pokemon Sword and Shield. It is not specified if you can turn it on or off.
It's not specified?
Yes. Don't know if you can turn this on or off. I do not like this.
Yeah.
I was planning on using the EXP share for grinding purposes if we needed to do that, but while we were doing our streaming stuff, turn it off. So this will potentially make it easy. I don't know why. If, let's say, you can't turn it off, why take that option away?
Of turning it off?
Yeah. Because in the last couple games, they made the EXP share so it does do your whole team, which is great. I like it.
But now if we do the thing like we had the level cap we had before, and now it's going to be really hard to... Yeah. It'll be really easy
honestly,
to go over.
Since this was a game I'm not going to be as familiar with, I was thinking we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's fine with me too. I mean, I would say our rule should be let's not go grind forever.
I would not do that.
Yeah, I'm saying in place of having the level cap, let's make sure we don't just ridiculously over.
Oh no, but I would not do that.
But I agree with you. It's why take the options away?
Yep.
So I mean, is there a thing an actual it shows the EXP share, or is it just that's not even? It's just everyone.
It's
just
going to be a
mechanic.
Anyway.
Okay. No.
So it's going to be something hey, did you know after every battle, all your Pokemon in your party get a experience? Or
Jeff, they have to make Pokemon easier. It's just too hardcore.
It's true. Very hardcore. Game Informer's interview implies more aspects of Pokemon previously left to breeding will be changeable in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So this is... I'm not going to read too much into this at the moment, but it pretty much means all the potentially RNG stuff of breeding your Pokemon, getting perfect IVs and all of that stuff, and EVs and all that. You might be able to do more about it and not have to completely make your Pokemon fuck it up a million times for the perfect child.
Okay, so just time saving?
Pretty much.
Is that something you're not mad about?
I don't do that stuff anyway.
Gotcha.
Now, here's a very interesting thing, Darby, and I think you might actually appreciate because you like sports. There will be 18 gyms in Pokemon Sword and Shield, spread across a minor league and a major league.
Ooh, that's cool.
So apparently the way this is going to work is with the 18 gym things potentially, the minor major league, that different gyms maybe in each game will be in the minor league and the major league, because the whole ghost and fighting gym, one's supposed to be a sword one, one's supposed to be a shield thing. So we're going to assume that those are major league gyms in each game, and then maybe in the other game they're going to be minor league gyms.
So it'll just be weaker in the other game?
Yeah, or several different story purpose. We have no idea what this whole major league minor league thing is, but what's also cool, Darby? There are 18 gyms. You know how many types of Pokemon there are?
Is it 18?
Yes. And you know what? There's a type of Pokemon that, as far as I know, has never had a gym. Dark-type Pokemon, there's been no Dark-type gym. We might finally get one in this game.
So it's having more gyms, just some of them being smaller or whatever. Is that appealing to you?
I think so, depending... I need to see exactly how they're going to implement it and what exactly all this means. But I love that they're going into the whole sports thing even more, having a major league and minor league.
Yeah, that's a cool angle.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if having a bunch of gyms is something that sounds exhausting to you, or are gyms your favorite thing and you would love to have some smaller ones.
It makes the Nuzlocke more exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about implementation and how they do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That one
But theoretically, that sounds cool. Yeah. I like the framing of it. I like all these big stadiums and stuff. And it'd be cool if the minor league one, it's a noticeably smaller stadium, and it's you talk to the people, and it's I'm trying to build up. I hope I get to the majors one day. That'd be that. That can make some cool story stuff.
Let's see.
But then when you get the doping scandal, then from Leon or whatever his name is. Your
Okay, so I'm going to have to read this because this is actually very potentially important news. This is the headline: Pokemon cut from Sword and Shield's National Pokedex will return in the future.
So all of them.
I don't know what that means, so I need to the blah blah blah. Up till now,
Sorry, what everyone was mad about before.
Yes, Dexit. And I know that the name is perfect.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Going forward.
See, I'm glad this happened just so we can get Dexit.
Don't say that too loud, Darby.
Sorry, my podcasting career's done.
Okay, that's a lot more to read. We'll skip this for
Maybe
now.
next week.
Next week, if it actually is something substantial.
Okay.
Because I just haven't had time.
Sounds
but
good.
if Pokemon are coming back in the future, it just might mean that all old Pokemon will be in a future game and stuff at some point. And if that's the case, I'm not going to bring this up again. Probably. But yeah. So that's it for now. Those were
If
cool.
you only follow us for all of your gaming news, then you'll find out whether that was a big deal or not next week.
Yeah. So that's all the Pokemon news for now. We'll get more. Obviously, I will talk about it. We're about a month and a half away to Pokemon Sword and Shield Darby.
Wow.
So get hyped.
Wow.
And
also, future streams in our new house. We'll be in our new house with our fancy setup and everything by that point.
So Darby, and I'm not seeing you on stream, putting you on the spot. When are we supposed to be moving in?
When it'll be first or second week of November.
Okay.
Hopefully first. When does this game come out?
Let me double check. So what I was getting at is we may say on here, launch day stream. I mean, we'll probably do that either way. I guess we can. But.
Yeah. We'll do something for a launch day stream, whether it's Last of Us, Untitled Goose Game, or this, but Pokemon would be a good one.
I'm talking about like Pokemon the day that it launches. We start the Nuzlocke.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that either way.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like we can start the Pokemon Nuzlocke
November
launch.
15th.
Okay, yeah. Well, we should be moved in by then, unless there's some bad problems with the houses or something.
Yeah.
So, to be determined, but we can do a launch day stream even if we're not in the new setup.
Yeah. So expect us to start our Nuzlocke streams on November 15th.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Cookie boys!
Yeah, it's a curry. We're going to become a curry stream. We just,
It's a Grookie.
I thought you said cooking boys.
Oh, no.
I thought we're going hard the cooking mechanics.
No.
Dude, I'm gonna make some dope curry.
I mean, we can do that too. We can be very, great cooking fashion people.
Oh hell yeah, that's my job.
Yeah,
you
the cooking and fashion.
You handle the fighting or whatever the hell. But
yeah,
I'll make sure our character is looking dope.
But we still in for Grookey?
Oh hell yeah, dude. There's no other option.
Okay,
I'm sorry. You can.
I'll have Sobble on my run.
Yeah, you can do your Sobble. I am all Grookey.
Yeah. And maybe we can do a thing in one of the streams where we just go on my file and I can just show you Pokemon that you may not have seen in our run.
Sounds good. And I'll long for them as we're sitting here with our Magikarp and Rattata.
But we're gonna have a Galarian Weezing, hopefully.
Oh, we better. I'll
have it on my run.
I want it.
That's other than Sobble, that's the only one that I feel like 100% I'm gonna have on my team. It's just so good.
So great. It's so good.
Top tier. Okay, Darby. Final news story. Oh, let me get the time thing up. We're going to talk about the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order gameplay trailer.
Yeah, tell me what time we're looking at. It's going to be a long one.
Yeah, baby.
We probably don't have to talk about the main topic too long. But anyway, let's go. Did you already mention Star Wars? Sorry.
Yeah, I just said we're going to talk about the Star Wars trailer. I even read the whole name, Darby.
I'm sorry. That was wait. Oh my god. Okay. Yes. there was a new Star Wars.
So we're still at my clock,
people. We're too far gone at this point. Yeah. So this was a pretty short trailer. It was just a minute and a half, something like that. It was not too long. And my takeaways from it, I really only saw I saw it twice, but I have to say, and let me know if you agree. I think some of the visuals are definitely a little lacking, especially models. I think the actual character and models themselves just look a little. They look like they're from a few years ago, And there's like sometimes the environments look really good, and then other times I feel like
it's just bland.
Yeah, like it really depends on the angle.
Mm-hmm.
And weirdly enough, I feel like they looked better in the gameplay than they did in this cinematic trailer. Like I don't know, but don't get me wrong, it's not that it looks bad. I think it's just we're spoiled with like Horizon and God of War and Red Dead. Like it doesn't look anywhere near that good, but I think it looks good enough. I'm still at a point where I don't, story-wise from these cinematic trailers, I don't really care about these characters yet. It's not something that they're immediately like, I'm latched on to the story of these people. I'm interested because I know Respawn can make a great game, and like whenever they do show gameplay moments, it looks like Star Wars Uncharted, which is super cool. Like I'm still definitely like interested in this game. It's not a day one buy, but it's a look at reviews. But I still have some faith in this versus other EA projects a lot of times. But I don't think any of the trailers themselves have been like completely standout.
Yeah.
You know, like, do you agree from...
Yeah, from an outsider perspective, again, if you haven't really listened to us or haven't heard it mentioned, because not too many times to bring this up, honestly. I'm not a Star Wars guy, so this thing isn't for me. I wanted, when they first showed it off, to drag me in, because I think the Star Wars universe is cool, so I could definitely get into something that's set in it.
Yeah.
That's separate from it, like this is. But, yeah, none of it seems completely... I don't know. Doesn't seem that crazy of a thing. It seems like one of those games that it looks good, but nothing exceptional. But the reason it's getting all the buzz it is because Star Wars, which is fair. But
which is fair enough. I mean, for a big budget Star Wars game like this, I mean, I see this is gonna be I think this is gonna be a game a lot like Shadow of the Tomb Raider for me last year. It's a solid 8.5, and I really enjoy it. Like I have a really fun time playing it. But, like, obviously when it comes to, like, Game of the Year or me talking about, like, my favorite games or whatever, like, it's not going to be there. But that's okay.
Untitled Goose Game's going to be number one.
I mean, yes. I mean, that's what are we doing here? But you know what I mean? Like, and we need that kind of game sometimes. We need that kind of game that's just, like, a fun to play. And it's just, like, a fun
Wait, so a question, because I only watched it once. I saw someone mention it might have been a joke about hearing Darth Vader. Was that in there and I missed it?
It's like there's literally in like 1 second, like he's opening this door and it cuts to another scene, but in between there it does sound like his Darth Vader breathing and everything. And I was actually going to bring that up. If Darth Vader's in there, that's like the biggest bummer in the world to me.
Because it's trying to tie it into the main universe.
Yes. And it just screams EA. Like, it seems like every Star Wars thing they do, like, it always has people aren't going to care about it unless it has Darth Vader. But at some point, you're just kind of fucking up the lore, where it's like every single story of importance has to have Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker or younger Anakin or someone. It's like... how much cooler would it be if you're just in this game and then you hear someone, like, you have, like, rebels coming to you and they're like, the Imperial fleet and Darth Vader just, like, wiped our planet out or something. Like, you hear about, like, things that are or you hear about an event that actually happened. Like, you hear about the Rogue One events or something, like, from someone else. Like, more mysterious. Like... Yeah, it make you feel like you're kind of a smaller part of this bigger world. You hear about what Darth Vader is doing other places. Like, to me, especially at this point of oversaturation in Star Wars, that would be so much cooler if they used it sparingly and made you... This is a galaxy. I want to feel like I'm kind of this, like, smaller runaway Jedi person or whatever. If I'm fucking fighting Darth Vader again, it's like, I don't know. It just starts to... Why does this galaxy feel so small? You know, like, I don't know. Were you about to say something? I'm sorry. I don't
know. In some ways, it takes away the kind of... stakes is some meaning to the story. It's like, oh, well, we know this is going to go Darth Vader. He's going to win.
Yeah.
Especially with the time that is. But there's something I want. I know this makes sense time-wise. I want Cal, whatever his name is, to meet up with Luke.
No.
And no, Darby, hear me out. They talk and they just start laughing like crazy because they're both the Joker.
Yep. We did it.
People who don't get the joke, obviously Mark Hamill's Joker in a lot of things, and the guy who plays the main character is Joker in Gotham.
Yeah. And like that happens, and they just like, oh,
Yeah.
It's a weird dream. And then someone comes up and is like, Cal, why are you wearing clown makeup? Oh, God.
What the fuck's a clown? But I just realized...
Apparently, the Star Wars universe doesn't have clowns. You heard it here. Heard it from Jeff, lore expert.
Yeah. But I just realized why we were talking like, oh yeah, 2 Jokers are involved in this universe now.
It's funny.
Yeah.
How many other Jokers can we get? So yeah, I'm still interested in this game, but it is definitely not beyond the realm of possibility that it like...
When's it come out again? It's coming like...
this month sometime.
No, it's next month, I think.
Or, yeah, it is. No, yeah, it's November. You're right. November 15th. That sounds right to me.
Same day as Pokemon?
Maybe I'm wrong, but 15th sounds right to me. Maybe 5th.
Yeah, I feel like it's later than. I feel like it's around the 5th. No, it's the 15th, huh?
Hey, same day.
Same day as Pokemon. Well, it's all about Pokemon that day. I'm sorry, Star Wars.
I'm probably not getting it day one anyway. But I'm just worried that this is gonna be just like, it's gonna be like, when you put this much money into a Star Wars project, it probably gets to the point where both Respawn and the EA are like, if we're putting this much money, we have to get a lot of people to play this, so we have to be able to put Vader on the back of the box. You know, we have to have Darth Vader in the TV spot commercials, or no one's going to care about our game, which is just a bummer to me. I mean, Star Wars is a big enough and a popular enough franchise
all you gotta
to stand
do
on
is
its
show
own.
a guy hitting people with a lightsaber. That's all you need to do.
Oh, it's iconic. Like, you can have new characters in the Star Wars universe, and the Star Wars universe is like identifiable just by looking at it. It doesn't. You don't need to have these same characters over and over again. And even Rogue One, like, yes, Rogue One does feature Darth Vader, but it's like it's in a very sparing way. It's in a really cool way. And other than that, it's all like these characters.
I mean,
you've never heard
again,
of
from an outsider, it's kind of like, at least in the big thing, I know there's, well, I mean, even in this stuff, there's such a deep lore to Star Wars, and it's such a vast galaxy, but it always seems to focus around a kind of smallish group.
Yep, because it's just the people that everyone knows. So, because I mean, Star Wars is just kind of too corporate. I mean, it's too like broad, and like it has to. Everything that they make costs millions of dollars, so it has to appeal to everyone, and that's the easiest way to do it. And like, I don't know, I hate to just always shit on EA so much, but doesn't it just? I mean, it just screams EA's like, wait, you mean we're paying for a Star Wars thing that doesn't have Darth Vader in it? What the hell? So, I don't know. I mean, this is all just off of 1 second of maybe Darth Vader breathing, so this might all be for nothing, but we'll see.
And then Palpatine laughs.
I cannot express how not excited I am for that movie. I'm still gonna go see it, but jeez.
Well, since
it's just a bummer how like empty I feel.
Well,
about.
Since the character was brought up in this conversation, we'll probably get to see Joker this weekend.
Yeah, I am excited for that.
Okay, Dar, ready to go to the main topic.
Main topic. Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about this.
By Heat Tap.
Yeah, that. I don't think we need to talk about this too long because we're already pretty long. But Jeff, I had a main topic pop into my head recently, which we haven't really had time to do many main topics. So yeah. But Jeff, I want to take you back to 2017 when the Switch had just came out and life was good. Life was good, Jeff. What happened? It's okay. Life will be good again in 2020. But a big topic of conversation for the Switch was, you know, we learn what the Switch is. It comes out. It's a like less powerful console. It has the like the on the go or like in the dock thing. It's great. But we get the same topic of conversation we've gotten a lot of times, like, how is Nintendo going to get third-party support on this? And it's like, a lot of people, like, I'm sure myself included, if you go back, were like, Nintendo is going to need this third-party support or the Switch is going to fail. Because, like, everyone was waiting for the Switch to fail because it was a big high-risk thing. So we're all talking about third-party support. And I feel like since then, the Switch has gotten more and more popular, and it started getting kind of third-party games that felt like they were either made for the Switch or they were like like they ran well on the Switch. It was like, you know, like Mario plus Rabbids was obviously made specifically for the Switch, but there are definitely other examples of games that it's like for a long time, especially indie titles, we were like, oh, that's perfect for the Switch. You know, JRPG series going over there, and we're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense to go over there. Even like Final Fantasy VII and all these other ones, it's like smaller, older games. It's like, yeah, that's going to be perfect on the Switch.
Neo Geo games,
lots
of Neo Geo.
Yes. But you know what I mean. It was stuff they were starting to get third parties, but it was third parties that made sense for them. Yeah. I feel like this year is the first year where we're really starting to get to the point where Nintendo is starting to get those, like, the same level of third parties that everyone said the Switch needs to get these to succeed. And I'm just going to like list off some of the ones that we've gotten recently. Doom, I mean, that was last year. Mortal Kombat 11, Witcher 3, Overwatch, Divinity Original Sin 2, Civilization 6, and Outer Worlds coming out later. I'm sure there's some other big ones like that I'm missing, but those are at least like a lot of the big third parties that have come or are coming. And Jeff, the thing that's in common with like all like 6 of those games or 7 or however many that was is I feel like for the first time, me and you and everyone else has finally started saying, hey, I don't want to play these games on the Switch.
Impossible.
And all of these games have started to, before it was like, oh, of course I'm going to get that game on the Switch because I want it portable and everything. But starting especially with Mortal Kombat 11 is the first time we all said, oh no, I'm getting that for PS4 because we're like, that game's not going to run well on the Switch.
From that, because Mortal Kombat is such a visual treat, it takes away from that, and especially since it appeals to a more casual base as compared to other fighters, and because it is still a fighter, so how it runs is very important compared to a lot of other genres. So yeah,
and then the same thing, like going forward, whenever they revealed Witcher 3 and every time they've shown it, it just objectively looks way worse. All I
can say is for this stuff, I told you guys.
Yeah, no, this is where we're going to get to. And I was going to say, I'm just going to run through.
You didn't really want this stuff on here.
When you look at Overwatch, I don't know if you, like, when you see that trailer, I see it on TV, I'm like, Jesus, as someone who plays Overwatch like every week, I'm like, God, this looks bad. And this is just, I want to talk about what do we think about that? Like I think you're kind of right. You were talking about how you probably don't want these games on the Switch. A lot of them are not going to run well, but do you think Nintendo needs to be worried about getting a reputation of being the worst place to play some games? And the biggest reason why it does kind of worry me is this is the same type of thing we ended up saying about the Wii. It reminds me a lot of the Wii, where it got to the point where it's like there was a Wii version of all these games, but it was a joke. It's like, why the hell would you want to buy the Wii?
The difference is that besides a handful of games where, other than Nintendo games, where the games was made specifically for the Wii and it worked well, people actually want to play games generally on the Switch. I mean, obviously, there are these big things, but there is a whole category of games, the indie genre, which is a vast thing that more often than not, people are like, I'd prefer to have this on the Switch. And Nintendo's library as well is obviously a lot bigger, so that makes it more appealing. I think the whole thing is, and why they're actually putting these games on the Switch is because people like playing on the Switch compared to about any console Nintendo's released in the last however many years.
Yeah, and I mean, like, in the broad sense of everything played exactly how it was supposed to, then we get every game on the Switch. Yeah. But that when we come to the Witcher 3s or Overwatch or Mortal Kombat's of the world, it's just like not the case.
I don't think it really hurt Nintendo slash the Switch really that much or at all, because it's doing great before these games even happen. It's still continuing to do great. I don't see how this will hurt it, other than the people will get these, realize they're not great, and then stop getting some of these bigger third-party games.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that could hurt the sales of those games going forward. And if people, like, for example, like me I bought Dragon Age Inquisition on the PS3, and it was garbage. like absolute garbage. I was pissed off. I spent $60 on this game that they put out. So you think that like they're putting out this game on this platform, so they must think it works.
Yeah.
And it absolutely
How naive you were, little boy.
did not. I mean, like, there's gonna be people that are pissed off about that, and like especially more casual gamers that like have a Switch and they buy FIFA or Madden or whatever, and then realize it's a completely subpar version to everyone else, what everyone else is playing. I don't know. I could see that being a problem when that goes on for long enough for the Switch. Like that starts to become the reputation, because I think more games like this are going to start coming out. Like I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to come out on Switch. That might run better because it's an older game, but things like that. There's going to be more developers putting their game on the Switch just because of how popular it is. But these companies would never consider putting their game on something like the PS3 because it's too underpowered. But the Switch, they'll find a way to shove it on there just because it's popular. And like, I don't know how long that trend goes if the quality is that bad,
Go for a little bit until they realize, no, it's not a money-making machine for these games in particular, then stop.
Yeah.
Then we'll still get games a little bit after that because they still made them, in the process of making them, so they got to put them out, and then they'll stop.
Yeah. So I guess you still stand by that the Switch doesn't really need these games?
I don't think so, because again, like I said, it's doing fine without them, and I don't see... I can't imagine that The Witcher 3 and Overwatch on Switch are really selling more Switches.
I don't know, man. I mean, I see a lot of people hyped about both of those games just by concept, and I like, especially when it came to The Witcher, I felt like I was the Scrooge in the room a lot of times who was saying, yo, this looks terrible. Like, if you can play it on something else, please do. But, like, there were a lot of people like, oh, I'm finally going to play through The Witcher 3 now. And I saw a decent amount of people say, like, oh, I'm finally going to play Overwatch. Or, I'm going to get
those people already have the Switch, not buying,
Buying Switch. I mean, but some of them might, I don't know. I wouldn't, I mean, like, they're big games. I wouldn't be surprised if they did sell some, but
I just can't imagine it being that much.
I don't know. I mean, like, a lot of things sell better on this. We'll have to see. I'm really interested to see. Is Witcher 3 already out on the Switch?
No, I don't think so. I think until this month sometime.
I definitely want to see how both of those do. And then I guess my last big thing was, what do you think is the likelihood of a pro model of the Switch to become a more beefier version of these things? And
honestly, not sure. Will the beefier version be TV only?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's part of the question too. Because I mean, if it is handheld too, it's probably could only be so beefy.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they would have to do a beefier thing without just going.
It would just be really funny if they release the Switch, which is this handheld console hybrid, and then proceed to release a handheld only and a console only.
Yeah, the
Switch.
TV. Yeah,
it's just kind of like
I think that's where we get into potentially confusing territory.
It's almost like we're back to 3DS and Wii again.
Yeah,
Wii U again. We're back.
And then we'll have console-owned exclusive games and all.
It's all full circle.
Yeah, so
I
guess we technically do.
I still think I think me and you agree a lot when it comes to people who already have Switches. I mean, like, you do you, whatever makes you happy, but getting a Switch Lite when you already have a Switch just seems excessive. It just seems like a practice of excess to me.
Yeah, but it's smaller. It's like, that's $200. Is that really worth it?
I mean, I just don't have that money. Like, I'd rather put that money on
anything,
games or other things. I feel like when I read other people or like listen to other people, I feel like I must not be in the minority, but the gaming media people make me feel like I'm in the minority. That like I really do use the Switch docked and handheld. Like I do I do back and forth all the time, but then I hear so many people say like, oh yeah, I don't even know where my dock is. And I'm like, that's just like so far away from what I do.
I think because we always talk about just what a lot of things for the gaming media is because they get games for free, or it's their job, so they're able to justify whatever expense or whatever because you get all of their taxes and all that for business expense and blah 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 blah. That I don't know. I guess because they have the beefy, they probably have a PS4 Pro. A lot of cases they just see the Switch as only the handheld thing. It's like, why would I play the Switch on my TV when it's not that powerful or some BS like that?
Yeah, and they can justify for some reason they have a console that can do both, but they still. When I hear people talk about, oh yeah, I want one Switch in the console and one Switch taking with me on the go, I'm like, you already have a system that can do both. I just don't get it.
It sounds like it takes more. I feel like it would take more time to do the whole cloud save mumbo jumbo than it is to take the Switch out of the dock.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like that's part of why I love the Switch is like a lot of times I'll take it to work with me just in case I want to play on my lunch break. A lot of times I don't end up playing it, but it was no hassle.
Option, yeah.
It was literally I just take it, I just grab it, put it in the thing, and go. It takes like 3 seconds, and that's why I love it so much. And like I don't know, like I love the Switch for what it is, and the kind of like having a locked version of either sounds bad to me.
I've said it before, and I will say it again. I will continue saying it. Nintendo will be stupid. And I will call them out on their shit if they do something other than a Switch or something like the Switch for their next console. They go away from this.
It's bad if they have the dock Switch and the handheld Switch.
Because they struck gold with this thing, and unlike the other, there are other things like the Wii and obviously the Wii U, the whatever gimmicks they have. This is something people actually like and have no reason to stop liking anytime soon.
Yeah,
like the Wii Motion gimmick, it fell off. People, stopped caring about it. So that made sense to go somewhere different. But
this thing seems a lot more sturdy as far as like market holding.
This thing just makes sense. Like this is a console that could have been, the idea could be done at any time and people would be okay with it.
Yeah,
and like it.
Yeah, it's just almost like the technology kind of had to catch up.
And the fact that I feel like we're now getting the benefit of Nintendo unifying their handheld and console, developers like getting both. I feel like we're now finally seeing, especially this and
having Fire Emblem come over onto console.
Well, I mean,
for the first
even then,
time
I mentioned this before. We're getting a lot more. We're getting a lot these last couple months in the next 6 months because Fire Emblem, Luigi's Mansion,
Pokemon.
2D Zelda, Pokemon, Animal Crossing.
Yeah. That's almost this entire year has been made up.
Yeah,
of,
the games that have been for the last little bit been associated with their handheld titles. So we're finally getting that, which is also good. So Nintendo's gonna get placed with the Switch, and it would suck if they change it. So I don't know if they're gonna do like a beefier thing. I don't know if they really need to. Yeah, the only reason they need to is if they want to become more of a place for these third-party titles, and that's the only thing that's weird to me is that the Switch got popular. So I understand why Nintendo is kind of housing Overwatch and all these, because it's like, sure, whatever, port your subpar game over here, but it's like the Switch is trying to be too many different things almost. So I was about to say something then that it defeats the purpose of having the Switch, but then I realized, we were just talking about the beefier thing if it was TV only. A beefier one wouldn't have to be TV only, but
no, it's just like how beefier could it be if it has to be taken on the go? I don't know their technology. Maybe they can find a way.
Obviously, it's going to get more powerful because they'll be dumb if they don't. There's going to be a Switch 2 at some point. But I will say, if there's not a beefier thing by probably the end of next year or when Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, which I have a feeling it is planned for end of next year, at least internally at the moment. I feel like that'd be, if they were to do it, kind of like when they released the handheld the Lite alongside Link's Awakening, which is a good game to launch alongside. If I feel like if they were going to, they might try to do it alongside Breath of the Wild 2, because as far as their games go, that is, I would say, the game.
The one I could use the most, yeah.
I want that game, Darby.
Yeah. But I think it'll become another thing like the Pro. Like when you listen to gaming media, like you said, it like if you just listen to all of them, it sounds like everyone upgraded the Pro and Xbox One X, when the vast majority of people are actually like me and you, where it's like, no, I'm not gonna justify
another $500 when I'm just fine using what I have.
Even if I could sell this like PlayStation, it's still gonna be a loss for me. It's like, no, I'm gonna keep this and like play my games. And like, we are in the majority, obviously. That is, most people are like, no, I can't justify that. I can't justify buying the same console just a little better and spending more money. Because also, we're going to have to buy the PS5 when it comes out. Like, that's gonna be
obviously at this point, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to buy the PS4 Pro.
No.
Or the Xbox One X, because, they're just about to release the new consoles. And Xbox One, whatever the next Xbox is, the Game Pass on PC kind of takes away our need even for that.
Yeah, no, I don't plan to buy the next Xbox.
The only thing is we'll miss out on Game Pass console exclusive titles, but that wouldn't be worth buying a new console for.
Yeah, and by then,
it should be more. There should be a lot more parity.
Yeah, and what I was getting at with that is like, even if the Switch does, or Nintendo does release a beefier version of the Switch, like most people are still going to be playing their base Switches. So, games can only be optimized so much.
Plus, honestly, Nintendo's not wanting to use that extra power. And then when they do, there's something like Xenoblade Chronicles for 3DS where it was exclusive, and that'll just piss people off.
Yeah,
like I feel like that was
the Switch Lite is
ish for the handheld stuff. But if you try, like, let's say they make Breath of the Wild 2 a Switch, upgraded exclusive or something, that will not fly.
No, that's like one of the biggest reasons I have a Switch. So that would almost be like, oh, so it's a new generation. You're already moving to a new generation. Thanks.
So the Lite thing, I think I do recall I was kind of like talking against it before. I'm almost positive I was, and I was wrong on that, and I obviously changed my mind on it, especially now that it's a thing. We'll admit that. Still on the beefier one, I'm still not sold on it.
I'm not either.
I feel like a handheld dedicated thing makes more sense. A cheaper handheld dedicated thing makes more sense than a beefier Switch.
I think they'll probably like keep improving the Switch model, and that will just become the new Switch that they're selling. But
they are already doing that. Yeah,
they are already doing that. But I don't
Lucky
see them.
Jacob.
I don't see them having like the Pro, like the branded, like this is more expensive and more powerful. But I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's certainly not like a complete long shot. And I don't know. It's just I do think this is an interesting conversation though, where we kind of went a lot of places, but with Nintendo trying to be different things, and I do think it'll all like settle out eventually. Mm-hmm. But like right now, it's like the Switch is an underpowered machine that got really popular, so now Blizzard's putting their game there, CD Projekt Red's putting their games there, Bethesda's putting their games there, even if maybe they're like not at all optimized for it. So I think the Switch kind of has to go through some growing pains, I think it has to figure out what it is. PlayStation and Xbox never really had to do that because there's so much parity between them, and they are the best of the best as far as console, and there's not like there's games made higher than that they're being ported down. Except for like some PC games, but the Switch is in it's just kind of an unprecedented situation.
Yeah. I feel like I should have mentioned this before, now that we're pretty much at the end, but I feel like the whole Overwatch type thing, or all those games you listed, I think it make more sense if it's like a Divinity thing where there's cross progression between like Steam and stuff.
Yeah, but Divinity is the only one where that's the case.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If that was more a thing, I feel like the third parties would make more sense, and they be more justified potentially, and people will be more into them.
Oh, yeah, me and you immediately said that makes Divinity so much more appealing.
Yeah, we were like, Divinity. Then you saw that, and we weren't the only ones who did it. Saw that, like, oh, that's nice. And no, that 100% sold copies of Divinity on Switch.
Oh yeah, and I've heard people talk about like, it's sweet to be able to go on a trip or go on a plane and
you talked about it as someone who's beaten Divinity, that there'll be a growth thing, obviously lower the visuals will not be as good, but it'd probably be worth it to play it sometime with lower things to be able to play.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If it was like, if it's lower res and I'm locked into that for my full 100-hour playthrough of Divinity 2, then yeah, probably not.
No.
But if I can switch back and forth, then
that'd be worth it. I got a question. I can't remember if you missed this. Let's say you were kind of in the middle of it, kind of early, but you were in love with it, but not too far. Would you have considered the Switch version?
Like buying it additionally or something?
For the...
I mean, like, it probably not at the full $40 that it's at right now. I mean, that's a lot of money altogether to spend. But, I mean, if it was decently cheap, then for sure. Because, I mean... Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just more options, and it's, from what I've seen, like I think it would run good enough to be a supplementary thing. I mean, like anytime I'm at my house, I would be playing on the PC, but like if I'm out,
but I know you like to go in the hammock. Sometimes that would have been
that would have been an awesome game to do that, because it's almost like Fire Emblem battles sometimes, or especially they're damn hard, so it'd be cool to just kind of like no, for sure. And I think there's a future in that kind of thing. Like, I think more games need to try that.
100%.
Do the Switch, like,
I said it when that Direct happened. We were discussing. That was low-key, like, one of the most important announcements of that Direct.
I hope some other developers are like, they can do that?
That's a thing that could happen?
They could do that?
Reading people's thoughts. People like this? Not, all right. Why would they be surprised about that? But yeah, so...
Alrighty, well, we need to get to bed. I know that was a long one, but it was a good one, Jeff.
Barry, we're getting better at having fewer topics, making longer podcasts.
Yeah, that was a good one. We had a lot of good topics. So, yeah, get excited for Nerds at Large 2.0, whatever is going to happen, whenever we get in this new space. I really do think things are going to improve a lot, and we're going to do a lot more content. And this is our new theme song.
Yeah. I can't snap.
I can snap for both of us. All right. Bye.
Bye.